Lord, we ask tonight that you would forgive each of us of our sin. Help us, Lord, to acknowledge to you things that we've hidden from ourselves. Help us to be the people you want us to be. And help us on this board to be true public servants. Help us to see and to do what is right in your sight for our people. Lord, help us to be true servants of the people in all that we do and say. For we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you so much. I will call this meeting to order. Commissioners, I do need a motion to approve the work session agenda with the changes on page 3.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries 5-0. We will move down to number 3, discussion items. 3.1, we have Kyle Billifer to go over the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association presentation. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to actually take this microphone over here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, feels like it's been so long since I've been in this seat talking to you all. Wanted to kind of bring you up to speed. I'm not sure everybody on the board, since we have some new folks, know what Elma Lomax Incubator Farm is, but that is about a 32-acre farm we have on Atundo Road. So if you're traveling on 49 to Mount Pleasant, pretty much in between the animal shelter location and the arena. So we've owned the 31 acres since 2002, and then we purchased the 1 acre that sat in the middle. We had leased it for a number of years. We bought it in 2024. And the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association are the folks that operate and manage the farm for us. And I wanted to give them the ability to do a presentation. And the agreement that we have for them is actually expiring at the end of this fiscal year. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I got them up in front of a new board. And there is funds that we do allocate to this group, and that'll be part of the conversation. Again, that kind of dovetails into the budget conversations that we're having. So I thought I would kind of give you that ability to ask those questions. They've operated this since 2014 for us, and the most recent amendment takes us to, like I said, the end of the fiscal year for 2026. And then they have a presentation they'd like to provide. We've got two folks here, and they will kind of let you know everything. Karen McSwain, who's the Associate Executive Director for Programs. And then we also have Dylan Alexander, who actually is the person on the farm operating it. So I'll kind of turn it over to them.
Great.
And go through the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I assume this is on?
I mean, yeah, you really got to get in there. Oh, you just had it. Okay. If it goes red, you're good.
Is it red?
It's red.
All right, wonderful. How do I advance this? Is that right there? Perfect. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for putting time on the agenda for us to talk a little bit about Carolina Farm Stewardship Association. There are a number of familiar faces in the room, but a lot of new faces on the board. So I just want to go over a little bit about who we are and what we do, and then talk a little bit specifically about what we do at Lomax, is what we call it for short, because Elma C. Lomax Incubator Farm is a mouthful. So we are a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to advance sustainable food systems in the Carolinas, centered on local and organic agriculture through technical assistance, education, and advocacy. So we work both in North and South Carolina. We're a farmer-driven, membership-based organization. We help people in the Carolinas grow and eat and enjoy local organic food, flowers, and fiber. Our mission is to advocate, educate, and build connections to create sustainable food systems. And our vision is we commit to building a sustainable regional food system that is good for all consumers, farmers, farm workers, and the ecosystem. So what does this mean? We do a lot. We have kind of 4 major buckets of work that we do. We provide technical assistance on a wide range of production challenges or obstacles or focus areas. We do a lot of advocacy work, both at the local, state, and federal level to ensure that there's funding and programs and policies that support our small family farms. We do work in the local food system, so we've had a fabulous program called Farm Share for quite some time, which is where we were able to purchase food, produce from farms and distribute it to communities for free that were facing food insecurity. And then you can see our fourth bucket, research and education, and these are the activities that go on largely at Lomax. We do organic research out there. We have our Farmer in Training program, and we also host a number of workshop and training events in collaboration with partners, particularly Extension. We used to collaborate closely with Rowan Cabarrus Community College. We've collaborated with NCA&T, NC State. A lot of collaboration is happening at Lomax. So I want to focus a little bit on each of our major activities that we do at Lomax. So our production activities, like I said, we have a Farmer in Training program. And this is where individuals that are either seeking to try and launch their own farm operation or looking to expand onto more land with their own farming operation, they can come out to Lomax, rent some space for a nominal fee, and produce crops. So we currently actually now have 7 FITS, Farmers in Training. We signed a lease with a new individual just this past week, and they're growing vegetables on about almost 2.5 acres, and they're selling their products to farmers markets. We're also collaborating with the Cabarrus County Master Gardeners, who have some space out there where they're growing garlic. We have a partnership with The Bulb, which is a nonprofit farmers market that brings fresh, nutritious produce to underserved communities, and they're currently growing some produce out at Lomax on about 1/4 of an acre. And then really since right after COVID, we've increased our Growing for Donation program. We did a little bit of this before COVID, but we really got into more of it since COVID. And so between 2021 and 2025, and when I say we, Dylan, has raised over 37,000 pounds of fresh produce that's been donated to members in the community. We have a number of educational activities that we host out at Lomax. So we do an annual Lomax Field Day. Largely has been focused on farmers and bringing farmers out to the farm to check out the research that we're doing and other kind of production methods that we're using. And Dylan and I have been talking about maybe this year doing one more towards the community, so we can get community members out there so that they can become more aware of this space and what's going on there. We offer a lot of hands-on workshops, again, in collaboration with Extension. We host summer interns. We've hosted them from Davidson College. This year, we've got funding for an internship program where we're hosting an intern from a community college. They haven't been identified yet, but we host interns out there. We used to have a fabulous program that we called SOIL, Students Outdoor Immersive Learning at Lomax, and that was a great partnership with some of the Cabarrus County middle schools and the high schools. So high school FFA students would create and put together kind of hands-on learning activities built around STEM and agriculture. And so they would create those stops or stations at Lomax, and then 6th graders would come out and tour those stations. They would tour Lomax, and those high school students would be providing the education. So that was a fabulous program that I don't think we've done it since COVID, unfortunately, but that was a great program. And then we also offer corporate volunteer days to get folks out onto Lomax and get their hands in the ground. I mentioned we do research out there, so we've had some pretty interesting research projects since about 2016. I won't go through each one of these, but I do want to take a moment to just talk quickly about our current research project. It's an organic seed production research project. So there's not a whole lot of research on what varieties of organic vegetables are best suited for seed production in the Southeast. And so this research project is actually a national project that is funded by the Organic Research and Education Initiative, which is a large USDA-funded project looking at the national level, and there's a lot of different partners that are conducting this research. And so we're conducting the research in the South, looking at what varieties are going to yield best for seed producers. So that's what we're currently doing in terms of research. And most of our research is typically geared towards, small scale producers, not kind of more larger conventional ones, but kind of trying to help the small scale producers. And now talk about the lease renewal budget. So as Kyle said, we are up to needing to renew our lease this year, and Kyle can probably talk a little bit more about some of these specifics, but we have a current lease, and in that current lease, it has $80,000 a year to support the efforts that we're doing, and that was what was put in the lease 5 years ago when we last signed it. And so I'm here tonight to advocate that we're asking for an increase in that for a couple reasons. One is, our current lease, I don't think our current lease breaks down these line items, but this is how we have typically broken down the line items when we share them with you all. But all costs for kind of managing what goes on at Lomax has increased in the past 5 years, right? Our labor has increased, our cost of fuel and propane has increased, the cost of inputs has increased. So across the board, we've seen it get more expensive. And then it's a farm, it's a running farm, and so there's always items, that you can't foresee that need to be repaired, that need to be replaced, that need to be fixed. And so this is just kind of an example of some of our unexpected costs that we have to do. And we also recently bought a truck, not with county funding, but we got some other funding to buy a truck and maintenance and repair of the truck. So this is what we're hoping to be able to discuss at whatever point is appropriate, an increase from $80,000 a year to $120,000 a year. And that was the last content slide, and I would imagine you probably all want to be staying on this slide rather than the contact us slide, so I'll leave it here.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions?
It's a great resource for our community, always has been, so thank you for everything that you do. And I understand the cost of everything has gone up, and it's been 5 years, so I'd just like to thank you for everything you do for working with us.
Thank you. We appreciate your
I do have a
support.
question about that soil program
Yes.
that you said that y'all haven't done since COVID. Can you start it again? Because it sounds like a really awesome program for the schools.
We would love to start it again, and we certainly can. Some of it has been, the main issue has been a staff capacity issue. When we were doing that before, when we were doing soils, we had 3 staff members that were out at Lomax. 1.5, some of them were strictly Lomax, and some of them were just based out of Lomax, so we had more capacity. But this budget, you'll see, has the renewal lease has $10,000 in it for us to be able to dedicate towards community programs and activities, and that would be the first one that we would look to start doing again.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I'll just add for the benefit of the board, the funding that has been used to pay for this has come out of the deferred tax money, which, according to the ordinance that was set up for that, is for conservation easements, foods, local food, and parks. So it's not in our general fund revenue streams.
And that's stipulated in all of the leases, the agreements, as well as the extensions. It specifically states that that's the account it would be paid for if funds are available. It actually has that verbiage in there.
Correct.
And the last extension we did with them was a 5-year extension.
Commissioner Pittman?
Thank you. I'm just, for clarification, the CFSA staff going up $30,000, is that because you've added staff, or is that just because things are costing people more and you want to pay them better, or what?
It's because things are costing more, we want to pay them better. We recognize tenure when they've been there, and that position before was a coordinator level position. And we now have Dylan as a manager level position, just given the magnitude of the responsibility of managing 32 acres. He doesn't really coordinate it. He manages it and is responsible for a lot of infrastructure and the land, and so we feel that it's a manager level position. So that's one of the reasons why that has gone up, because it's no longer a coordinator level position. But yes, we try and do cost of living adjustments every year. We try when we can to do merit and tenure-based raises. And then that also includes, which it has not before, some of the other staff time, like our admin support, our finance person who has to be paying all the bills. That includes a little bit of my time, who kind of helps oversee Lomax. So it's a combination of the staff that it really takes to run the program is not just the manager, and recognizing that it requires a manager level position.
Okay, well, how many people does that involve then?
That is 3.
3. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Patrick?
Not necessarily about the program, but Kyle, you said there was an ordinance that directs the flow of money to certain items, self-imposed ordinance?
That would be Kelly to talk about the ordinance. I could talk about the language in the agreement.
Okay.
Yes, it was adopted by a board
Yeah.
more than 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Roughly
probably
how
more
many
like
of those
20.
Do we have that talks about?
The direct funding,
Yes.
that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. That
Just the one?
Yeah,
Can
and it
you
was
just
just,
point me to where it lives?
oh.
Just so I can understand it. Since
We'll
I'm
get it sent to
new.
you. I'll have to do the digging to find it again, but
Okay, all right.
we'll get it sent to you.
The agreement specifically states that, it states the amount we will pay them per fiscal year, provided funds are available in that deferred tax. And that was our way to be able to, no offense, not fund if there was no funds in that account. And it should be noted that, as kind of Karen talks about what Dylan does at the farm, keep in mind, by eliminating this group from managing and operating the farm, that's putting that on the county, whether it's cooperative extension running the programs and then infrastructure and asset management picking up all of that maintenance, or us looking at, not having the property.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank
So
you.
I'll be coming back up in just a few months with a proposed lease extension, unless I kind of get some different guidance at that point of moving forward as we go through the budget process.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, we will move on to 3.2, Consolidated Human Services Agency Overview with Elise.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening. Take the
And
clicker there.
Suzanne Moose.
Thank you.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners.
I hope everyone's doing well. Our charge tonight is to provide a high-level overview of our Consolidated Human Services Agency here in Cabarrus County. I'm going to sit over to the side and I will advance the slides. The different presenters will kind of rotate up based on their area of expertise. So just a little history in terms of our Consolidated Human Services Agency in Cabarrus County. We were an early adopter of consolidation when the statute changed in 2012. Prior to that, only local governments in the state of North Carolina with populations over 400,000 were permitted to consolidate. But when the statute changed, that allowed smaller local governments to consolidate as well. And again, we were an early adopter. We have been consolidated since July 1st of 2013. At that same time, our Human Services Advisory Board was created. And as you all know, you appoint the members of that Human Services Advisory Board. But you all, the Board of Commissioning is our governing body as our consolidated agency. Another little fact about consolidation, there's about 36, roughly 35, 36 local governments out of 100 in North Carolina that are consolidated, but they tend to be the larger counties. So over half of the population of North Carolina is under the consolidated model because it tends to be the larger counties. Benefits of consolidation, primarily for the local government lens, it's related to personnel reasons. It allows all of the human services operations, particularly social services, to operate under the county's personnel ordinance. Otherwise, for smaller counties that have social services outside of consolidation, those agencies are governed by the State Human Resources Act. But by consolidating, that brings all of those departments and all of those service areas under the county's personnel ordinance. It streamlines services, and it makes it a lot easier for a local government to operate all of the different human services programs. And as you see up there, it exercises more control over employee grievances, discipline, and termination processes as well. Benefits for the community. Streamlines services and allows for cross-collaboration between the human services areas, as well as whole person service delivery. Our current direction in terms of our consolidated agency, we are focused on performance improvement. We are focused on being more outcomes-driven, integrating our services and care, that cross-system collaboration that I already mentioned, keeping families together as much as possible, and you'll hear more about that from social services here shortly. We also want to focus on prevention services, working upstream before individuals become more entrenched and involved in social services areas, as well as promoting self-actualization. And so here is the structure of our consolidated agency. Again, I am the appointed Consolidated Human Services Director. And then these are the different program areas that are represented in our consolidated agency in Cabarrus County. Social Services is led by Holly McCallum. She's our DSS Director. Behavioral Health is led by Camila McKissick. Veteran Services is led by Chad Gurley. Health and Human Services Business Operations is led by Suzanne Moose, who's sitting right up here. And you can see under Suzanne, there's also two other distinct human service program areas, transportation and child support. And then last but not least, opioid settlement. We won't talk about opioid settlement today simply because we did a presentation in January related to opioid settlement, but that is part of our consolidated agency as well. In terms of where our staff are located, these are the primary locations for our staff. There are some staff members that are embedded in, for instance, community health clinics and things of that nature. But for the most part, these are the areas, or these are the facilities that our staff are located in. We have a good number of individuals on Cannon Boulevard at our main human services operation there. You can see child welfare and economic services is there. Transportation is currently there, although we are in the process of relocating them to the Milestone building. Milestone is our second largest facility, and it houses adult and aging services, Medicaid, behavioral health, opioid settlements, HHS business services, and we recently moved our customer service, our DSS customer service unit, to the Milestone building as well. Here at the Government Center in the basement, we have child support. Child support, as you all know, they're in court quite often. So about a year ago, we moved child support out of Cannon to the Government Center to make it easier for them to access the courthouse. And then also, our one DSS attorney that's in-house is located here at the Government Center as well. Veteran Services is not too far down the street on Church Street. We lease a small office space in the old creamery for our Veteran Services operations. Veteran Services actually used to be housed here, right behind that wall. But the feedback that we received from our veterans was that it was very difficult for, especially some of our older veterans who were disabled, to navigate the narrow hallways and entryways here at the Government Center, plus parking was a challenge. And so we moved that operation down the street, and our veterans are very pleased with that location. They're able to drive right up to the door, and it makes it very accessible to them. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne Moose, who again is our Director of Health and Human Services Business Operations. Suzanne?
Thank you, Elise. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. I'm going to provide just a high-level overview of business services for HHS. HHS obviously starts with our vision and mission. Next slide, which is we are a strategic partner in achieving the organizational goals, providing data-driven insights and recommendations that inform sound decisions within HHS with all the divisions that fall under that. We also have our core values. Sorry. We also have our core values, which we operate under with business services, which is fiscal responsibility, which is accountable stewardship to make sure that we're good stewards of the resources through progressive internal controls and collaboration. And obviously creativity, we want to make sure that we're building on strengths through collaborative exchange and partnering with the agency. And we also want to raise the bar while raising the floor at the same time, which is just basically continuously striving for excellence. And then also, we want to make sure we're always connected and reconnecting by aligning our team with purpose, which is passion, timeliness, accuracy, and obviously internal systems and policies and procedures. This is just a few of the key responsibilities, sort of at a high level. Obviously, we prepare and monitor budgets. We monitor grants. We have contract management. We did the procurement cards for the entire HHS. All of these are HHS. Our accounts payable, our accounts receivable, day sheets, meaning that is the way our services staff report their time for federal pots, state pots, and then our federal and state reporting, which is our 1571. You'll hear me about 1571 is the state name of the report, and obviously auditing. And this is just sort of an overview of a pie chart of the business services budgets, and we oversee about 14 budgets. This is a breakdown of them. Obviously, our largest customer is Department of Social Services, and that breaks it down by division, by budget. And just a little overview about our cost share. This means that the county pays for DSS services first. We upfront the funds here in the county, and then we report it via the 1571, which is our state and federal funds, so we can get reimbursed for the county share of what was spent, what was expended overall. The DSS 1571 is the process by which counties are reimbursed for those allowable costs, which includes salary. And then DSS is reimbursed on only actual cost reported. Now, I wanted to make sure that I know that operating across multiple programs, we have costs distributed through other programs through cost allocation. So it's not just DSS. We are receiving reimbursement for a behavioral health coordinator, so we're getting some cost share on that. We're also getting cost share for for departments that support us within Health and Human Services DSS side, and that could be IT, Human Resources, the Sheriff's Department, and any other person that, like legal, like, for example, legal, we have Heather that does our attorney work for child support. Then one more slide. The deadline for the 1571 is the 15th of the month. We're working very diligently the first several weeks of the month. We cannot miss that deadline. If it falls on the weekend, obviously still 15th of the next day. I just wanted to bring that up because it's extremely important, because we cannot miss that deadline or the county doesn't get reimbursement. And then just an overview of what we did last year regarding the DSS reimbursement. You'll see that we submitted 42 million and some change for reimbursement, and you can see the breakdown of how the federal, state, and then the county was responsible for 50. So we were glad because we were on the 50-50, so we maximized our funding here for the county, so we were glad for that. And just an additional budget item that I think you should know that we're working diligently within our budget, that we have budgeted already within the budget that you're looking at, is there was a change regarding food and nutrition services and the funding, and that was a bill that was introduced and signed into law last summer. We call it HR 1. That is the cost of doing business, to make sure the admin that we're able to run the food nutrition program. That split was a 50% county, 50% federal government. But starting October 1 of 2026 this year, it will change to 75% county and 25% federal. So a whole year at this point is 1.2 million annually. That could change one way or the other, according to our funding. But we already have that budgeted within the budget that you've already reviewed for the 50/50 from July to September, and then obviously the 75/25 from October to June of 2027. And there's my contact information. If you ever need to contact me, I'll be glad to help.
All right, thank you so much, Suzanne. And now we're turning our attention to social services, and I know Holly will have her team join her at the table as well.
All right, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to join you all this afternoon and just share a high-level overview of the Department of Social Services. I know you all hear bits and pieces at times, but our goal today is really to provide a broad overview in terms of kind of all the programs and services that we offer. And so we thank you for that opportunity today. Next slide, please. So as you know, my position as well as the role of social services is outlined in General Statute 108A. We are, as Elise mentioned earlier, state supervised, county administered. And so the federal government kind of issues the programs. It comes down to the state. The county actually administers those programs, but the state is essentially our supervisor. They govern our programs. They have oversight of our programs. They conduct monitoring and audits and things in terms of how we're delivering those services. And here at DSS, our programs and services are really based on the administration of our public assistance programs, so food, nutrition services, Medicaid, as well as the protection and well-being of children and families in our community, which are also outlined in general statute. As Suzanne mentioned, we operate on a close to $43 million budget. We touch at least 58,000 residents here in Cabarrus County. We do that through 365 staff who help us to administer these services. And we have 3 divisions across our department, which you'll hear from in a little bit. And again, as Elise said, we're mainly across 2 locations. We have some staff outposted, but majority of our staff lie within Milestone and Cannon. Next slide. So March marks my 2-year anniversary here as the DSS director. And so when I came in, I kind of came in with a posture of curiosity and listening and wanting to sit and understand from staff as well as a lot of our key stakeholders just what had been working well, what we needed to stop, start, change. And based on that feedback, came up with a number of themes. But what it boils down to essentially are these 3 goals that everyone across the department, no matter what program they're in, are operating under. The first one really is around operational excellence and making sure that we're delivering the best services in the most efficient way. Our second goal is around workplace culture, and our third goal is around community engagement. And so again, across our departments, these are our focus areas. You'll hear just briefly about them through our presenters today, but department-wide, we're really focusing on staff engagement, so building that positive workplace culture, as well as onboarding and training and making sure that staff come in with a consistent process and understanding of our department and services. In economic services, we're really looking at expanding our delivery of services in terms of the way customers can interact with us. It doesn't just mean that they have to come to a brick and mortar. We're expanding our virtual services as well as working with IT. We've developed a self-service portal that customers can interact with as well. We're also heavily promoting our health fairs to get staff connected to services as well as our consumers. And then in child welfare, you'll hear about just our plans to really emphasize the philosophy of care and the way that we want to engage with our community, streamlining processes, as well as really developing our leaders to lead well and provide supportive supervision to our staff. And then in adult and aging services, we've really worked on funding optimization, maximizing our cost share from both the state and federal governments, as well as increasing customer outreach. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Natalia, who is our program administrator for customer service.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Natalia Weaver with the Customer Service Team. So just to tell you a little bit about our Customer Service Team, is our main priority is to make sure that we provide a warm, supportive, and informative first touch in every interaction with our customers, whether that be over the phone or in person. So we have four major services that units that we provide is front desk services, and our priority is to make sure that we listen to our customers with empathy and compassion and be able to assist them or route them to all the different programs within DSS or HHS, or at times other departments within Cabarrus County or our community partners based on the need of the customer. Our call center and switchboard services, our priority is about the same as front desk, but we're doing it over the phone as opposed to in person. Then we have interpreter services, and our priority is to provide interpretation, which is verbal, or translation services, which is written in Spanish. They're vital to meet the mandates of Title VI compliance and civil rights. They go out with our social workers day and night. We do have an interpreter that is on call, so they will go out with the social workers to make sure that they're assisting our limited English proficiency customers. They also help the customers that are walking into our agency to apply for services. They also provide assistance over the phone. They answer all our Spanish line, and assist those customers. And they also do a lot of community events because they're able to take our services and provide information in both English and Spanish. And then we have our mailroom services, and our priority is to make sure that we're handling all the incoming and outgoing mail for the agency, as well as our drop box that is located right outside our building. And then the main thing, is for all the team members is just their commitment to make sure that they are assisting our customers and being able to do that from their heart. So, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I would like to talk to you a lot about these programs. I'm Thomas Mitchell, by the way. I'm the Deputy Director for the Economic Services side of the house. But I only have 3 slides. So I will focus on return of investment during my slides. And so I oversee food and nutrition services, Medicaid, and family support services. So for Medicaid, we have 58,500 Medicaid enrollees currently. That equates to $145 million in medical benefits coming back into the community. We have 25,000 food and nutrition participants, which equates to $48 million a year of food benefits coming in for our residents. In our family support services area, our child care has $10,800,000. $10.8 million coming back into the community to support families with child care and to support those centers that we have in the county. Our energy assistance, LEAP and SIP programs, put another $1.1 million into the community for reimbursement for heating and cooling costs. Our work first assistance and EA programs, another $319,000. And then prevention services, we do have that program as well that helps 450 plus families every year. And the focus of that is try to prevent children from coming into foster care in the first place. And so for our family services area, $12.3 million going back into the community for those services.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Rakita McDuffie. I'm the Deputy Director for Adult and Aging Services and Child Welfare. And today I just want to take a little bit of time to share with you that child welfare is one of the most critical divisions within our organization and plays a critical role in ensuring safety and well-being of children. And so today I'm going to walk you all through our continuum of care regarding child welfare. Typically a case, or always, comes to our attention by the way of our intake process. When we receive a report through intake, it means that the case meets the statutory definition of abuse, neglect, or dependency. Should we receive that case for meeting that criteria, then we will screen in the case. If it meets abuse, neglect, or dependency, we'll screen it in and do what we call an investigation, which is our Child Protective Services unit, and they will investigate the allegations allegations that are in that report. Should those allegations be substantiated for any reason, the case could take one or two tracks. And so if the case is transferred to what we call in-home services, in the child welfare language, you often hear our social workers refer to it as 215 services, which is essentially in-home services if you hear that language. In-home services is a service that allows children to remain in their homes with their parents, however, or the caregiver, and we provide case management services to work with the family so that the child does not have to be removed from the home. Our next track is foster care, and foster care is when children have to enter into our custody. Want to add that children do not enter into our custody unless we have court intervention. So there's judicial oversight for kids that enter foster care. When kids enter foster care, it is because they can't remain safely in their home. If they can't remain safely in their home, our first goal is to work with families to reunify back with their families. If for whatever reason children aren't able to reunify back with their families because the home is not safe, we move the case through several goals, which could either be guardianship, custody, or adoption. You cannot adopt a kid unless the parents' parental rights have been terminated, and that process is also facilitated by judicial oversight. Our next service that we offer is independent living. Independent living is a service that is offered to youth ages 13 to 21, and it's to provide them with life skills. It's typically children who are unable to reunify back with their parents for whatever reason and have decided that they're going to go the independent living track because we haven't been able to find permanency, meaning we can't identify a relative. They don't have a lot of family support, and those youth we provide independent living services for. So when they age out of foster care, they have the ability to live on their own. So we have a philosophy of care, and our philosophy of care is rooted in the partnership of working with families and children. Those streams that fall under our philosophy of care is safety and due diligence. We prioritize safety and well-being of all children that come into care. We do this by way of clear guidance by the state. They provide us with very, very clear guidance as far as policies and procedures as to when children are safe and as to when we take care of kids. So we're guided by the practice and the statutes that are outlined by our state. Partnering with families, it is important to us that we let families know that they do matter. And so we engage families as true partners, recognizing that they do have strengths and that every family has some sort of strength. And we try to meet families where they are and meet them with working through their strengths. Excellence and accountability, we are upholding high standards and integrity and providing supervisors with reflective tools to guide staff toward consistent, high-quality practice and outcomes that matter. We want outcomes that matter. We are using data to improve our outcomes. We're using measurable outcomes to ensure that we are in compliance with those metrics that the state has outlined for us to meet. Here's just a snapshot of where we are at our monthly averages from year to date. Right now, we have about 182 children that are in care. We have 43 foster homes, and as you all can see, with 182 children in care and 43 foster homes, what that tells is a story that either our kids, many of our kids are not placed here in Cabarrus County because we only have 43 foster homes. So there is some disparity in where kids are, some disparity in the kids that are placed here in Cabarrus County. We have 198 reports that are screened in and 266 CPS assessments. And that concludes the child welfare presentation. I will have Ms. Tammy Bear to come for the Adult and Aging Services presentation. Tammy is our program administrator for Adult and Aging Services.
Can I ask a quick question about the foster homes?
Sure.
I know that's not a lot, but that number has increased, right? It was in the 30s last year or several months. So we are slowly increasing, although not enough, right?
Absolutely. We are increasing. We actually have we have families, about 7 families that are in MAP training now. The state now calls it NCDT, which is a new training, but TIPS MAP is what we typically offer. It's a 10-week training that is offered to families who are interested in becoming foster parents. So that number is increasing. And I want to share with you all today that while we only have 43 families, we have some strong and mighty families. Here in Cabarrus County, our foster parent network is one of the strongest that I have seen. I am willing to put our foster parents against any larger county here in North Carolina. I've been doing this work for 2 decades now, and I will assure you that I've never seen anything like the resilience, the tenacity, and the commitment that the foster parents here in Cabarrus County has for the children. They truly love our kids. We are one of the counties that oftentimes we don't have kids in the building. It happens, but I have definitely seen it happen a lot more often in other jurisdictions. And what I will say to you is that it is our foster parents that really wrap their arms around the kids that are in care, that keep our children from having to spend the night in the building. And that is something that we as a county should be very, very proud of.
I would just add that there's another service called Therapeutic Foster Home, and it's a Medicaid-funded service. So there are a lot of our kids that are in therapeutic foster care, but those aren't represented on these slides because we don't manage those foster homes. Those foster homes are managed through the health plan.
I'm going to take a second to brag on some of the foster families that we have in Cabarrus County, because I have several that go to my church. And so when you talk about tenacity, these families truly do. Our church puts a specific emphasis on us potentially becoming foster families because we have so many that go to our church. But I do know that they have multiple children in their homes. And so if anyone out there is listening and has an interest in being a foster family, I would encourage you to pray about that and also come see these ladies to see what we can do to help get some of these 182 children in care into your home. So
Thank you, Commissioner Leslie. And I'll just add that it has been a targeted focus to increase our foster families. And so one of the things we found was that there were interested families who were kind of just waiting for the next training. It's about a 7-week training you have to go through in order to get licensed. And so what we did was we are either using a hiring strategy to hire folks with that certification and licensing already, in order to provide training by staff and or equipping staff with certifications to allow them to provide the training as well. And so that has been a concerted effort on our part to just make sure that we're moving folks who are interested along through their certification process. So that has definitely helped in the increase of our numbers.
Commissioner Pittman?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, of all these kids that you have to deal with, how much of the time, I know probably not an exact number, but kind of an idea of how many times in foster care or going to adoption do you have siblings that you try to keep together, and how much is like kids from different families being together and that sort of thing? Just curious about that.
So I am proud to say that typically when we have a sibling group, they are placed together. That is why many of our foster homes are at capacity. One of the things that the state charges us to do when a child comes into foster care is to ensure that we're keeping family units together. So we work really, really hard here in Cabarrus County to ensure that siblings remain together, and if and when that cannot happen, we make a very conscious effort to try to identify a foster parent that has a relationship with the other child's foster parent to maintain those family connections. You're welcome.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Bear, the Adult and Aging Services Program Administrator. And on the screen here is a list of our services. So I want to just walk through an example of how the services would come into play for individuals. So for example, you have an individual would come in, would receive a report of an older adult who lives alone, unfortunately been exploited financially, and struggling because, you see individuals that are married and have that partner for 30 years, but then they pass away and then they're all alone. So then have these situations where they're isolated, they're alone, and then they fall victim to other individuals that would exploit them. So say this individual had been exploited so much so that they didn't have the money to pay their utilities, so the power was turned off. So what we look at, that would be an Adult Protective Services report, which is reports, we accept those from anywhere or anyone for abuse, neglect, and exploitation. I will go back and say that the focus of our division is to support the independence and well-being of adults in the home. So our focus is for those services in the home. And of course, to protect those adults from abuse and neglect and exploitation. So our focus is to provide services to protect those individuals. So, and that's through these services directly or indirectly, because we refer lots of services to community partners. But with this individual that would been exploited with his power turned off, so we would accept that as an APS, and then a social worker would go out to the home to evaluate the service, the adult for services. So, of course, we look at the immediate needs, like how can we get their power turned off, turned back on, because they're out there eating, surviving on only canned food, say. So we look at first what service we could get in place for our service plan would be get them to our Lunch Plus site for a hot meal and socialization to prevent the isolation, to protect them and get them maybe away from the individuals that are exploiting them. And I think you guys talked a little bit Lunch Plus at the retreat. So it's a great program that does provide that meal and that support there. And of course, to get them there, we have to look at transportation. So we have transportation services, so we'd have to refer them to that. They get them to the Lunch Plus site, because if they don't have the transportation, so we have to look at that. So we're in there constantly looking at how can we get these services in place to protect the individual. So we look at that. So for the financial part of it, you'll see the Special Assistance in-home services. That's an eligibility program that can help them maintain being at home with extra income. They would get an extra check based on their income, and case management services with a social worker. So that's a financial assistance program. And then the in-home aid services for this individual, say they don't have transportation, of course, so their aid would come get them and take them to the grocery store to shopping or do other errands and things like that. If that person is not that independent at home and they need extra help with their AD or activities of daily living, like bathing or taking their medicine, then we may refer them instead of to Lunch Plus to adult daycare or day health, where they get more services like bathing. They have nurses there and more care there at that site, so we may refer them to that. And some of those programs that we have here, they're grant-funded services, so it's limited. So unfortunately, we do have wait lists for those programs, but we do the best that we can to provide the services. We also do the placement services, so the individuals say they just can't manage at home anymore. They need assistance. So then we look at, do they need placement in assisted living facility? Of course, that's if they're agreeable to that, because we never force anyone from their home. They have to agree, and they have to agree to all our services and sign for our services. We can't force anything upon any adult, because self-determination, everyone has that right to make the decision how they live. So if someone doesn't want our services, then they just say, see you later, sign here, and I don't need you to come back anymore. So that does happen a lot, and that's the adult's choice. If the person say that we determine they can't make decisions and they need assistance with making decision, then we look at guardianship services, and that's a court proceeding where they're determined incompetent by the court, and we as an agency, we look for a family to be appointed, but if not, then we as a public agency are appointed, and that's where we have those individuals, and we have our we have approximately 72 cases that we are a family, they're our family, and those ages range from 18 to 97. So we have a big range of individuals that we provide support to, where we may go to their high school graduation, or we may, at the end of life, we go to their funeral. So we are those individuals' family. So that's about guardianship services. And then part of that, also on the screen, is adult care home licensure and monitoring. We have staff that go out to the adult care homes, and currently we have 18 that we're responsible for to monitor and conduct complaint investigations in. And so two other grant programs that are on there that would do Medicare counseling. If anyone's heard of the SHIP, the State Health Insurance Information Program, we do provide that. That's a grant service, and also Family Caregiver Support Program that supports the caregivers in the home. But also, we're always with our programs, our goal is to keep someone safe at home with those services. I always want to keep them at home, because we all want to stay at home at all costs. So that is what our goal is, because we don't want them out of the home, because it costs more. It costs, if they go on Medicaid, it costs more that way, so we want to keep people at home. There's a next on our nutrition services. I go over a little bit about that. I know you talked about that at the retreat, but just some numbers. Our average monthly meals are over 2,400. We touch at least 237 on average individuals that receive those meals. And we have 5 sites located in all municipalities. But the biggest thing with this Lunch Plus, and I see Lunch Plus as a preventative program for these APS, because they're out there, they're getting those meals, they're with other individuals, and they really promote their health and independence and well-being. They have education programs. We do a lot with community partners coming out to those sites to educate these older adults, and this program is for 60 and older. We're part of EMS, Sheriff's Department, Health Alliance, Atrium Health, all coming out to these individuals. But it reduces isolation, promotes healthy aging, and to help older adults, again, remain at home at all costs. It's really a vital community resource and model of, again, preventative support. I am available for any time for anyone to call and ask questions about any of these programs. And I don't want to step away until I recognize our great staff that we work with, because it is Social Worker Appreciation Month. So I want to get a shout out to my team, and I'm thankful every day I get to work with them. Any questions?
I have one. I know
Yes.
this is mostly for in-home, but is there any accountability or authority that we have over local area nursing homes as far as how to file complaints against them?
We don't have regulatory oversight in nursing homes. The state does that. We do adult protective services evaluations in a nursing home. So if there's abuse, neglect in a nursing home, we do adult protective services in those facilities. But there is a complaint line that anyone can call Raleigh and report complaint on any type of licensed facility, including nursing homes. But yeah, we do adult protective services in nursing homes or any type of group home or any kind of facility.
All right, well, that wraps up the presentation for Department of Social Services. This is our contact information. We'd be happy to come out and share in more detail around any program or answer any questions that you all may have. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to turn our attention to child support. And with that, we'll have Susan Dillon, who is our program administrator.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm going to give a really brief overview of child support, and we'll be open to questions after if you have any. So child support is mandated by the Title 4D of the Social Security Act of 1975, and it is an entitlement program that's available to anyone that is responsible for a child in their home. There is an application fee that ranges from $10 to $25. And child support is considered a federal state program because it's financed mostly by the federal government and subjected to federal rules and regulations, but it's administered by the state, and then, of course, like social services, is operated by the county. In Cabarrus County, we have some very specialized units for child support. We have intake and locate, and that just consists of the applications coming into us, and then we do locate non-custodial parents if we receive an application with somebody who they may not know where the non-custodial parent resides. We do paternity and establishment, and that's where we work to establish legal paternity for children who are born outside of a marriage. We do that several different ways. We do paternity testing. It could be done by affidavits of parentage, or the court can order paternity. We also, with that, establish the actual child support order. That's done through courts. There are child support guidelines that are used, and that's where you come up with the actual amount of the child support that is owed each month. After that, we move to enforcement, and enforcement actually monitors and enforces that court order for child support. We also enforce medical insurance and spousal support if it's part of an order. We're also responsible for modifying child support. That is automatic every 3 years, or if there's a substantial need in the needs of the child, such as, say, somebody who's paying child care and that increased substantially, then we could take it back for that. We also have an intergovernmental unit, and that is interstate is what we call that. And they manage cases where one party resides outside of the state of North Carolina. And I'm going to talk a little bit about child support funding. So child support, it collects $4.24 for every dollar that the public funds that are invested into the program. So that's very good news for us. We are provided by the federal government open-ended matching funds, and that's 66%. So we get 66% on our salaries, on our expenditures, anything that we spend money on, we get the 66% back for that. We also receive federal incentive payments that are dispersed to us based on performance, and I'll touch on that on the next slide. But in FY 2026, it's anticipated that we're going to receive about $270,000 based on our performance. And then we also, in addition to that, get a settlement each year. As I mentioned, the application fees you heard me talk about earlier, we do get reimbursed from the federal government for 66% of that. And then we also draw money down from being reinvested collections on our Work First and foster care arrears cases. So we have a large funding stream coming in for child support. I wanted to touch on this briefly because this is what gets us that incentive dollars. So the better we do, so if you look at the MOU measures for 2026, you can see that the goal is 50 for paternity established, and we're at 102.79. And then for cases under order, the goal is 50, and we're at 89.03. For current support paid, it's 40%, and we're at 73.40%. And then for those cases that are arrears only, our goal is 40%, and we're at 69.45. So we are monitored pretty closely in child support. We have our, what we call CQI specialist meetings every month, and then we have federal audits that's done by the federal government. They're done every year. And then the IRS also inspects us every 2 years to make sure we're in compliance with IRS publication 1075. And that's just about privacy because we do take federal income tax. We garnish those and take them towards child support. So we do get monitored by the IRS for that. So any questions?
I'm just going to give you a shout out because I know that you were working on this presentation at like 3 o'clock in the morning when we were in the emergency shelter. So thank you for doing that. You obviously love your job and you work very hard at it. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions?
I may be ignorant, but the percent of paternity, 102%?
Yes. I know, it's a federal government thing, but I'm going to explain it as well as I can.
Yeah.
So it actually looks at every case that we have where paternity is at issue as of right now. But it also looks at those cases as of June 30th of the previous year. So it gives us an opportunity to get in there and establish paternity. So it's a combined year.
I see.
Yeah, yeah. I knew that you were going to ask that question. I was prepared.
Could be multiple.
Yeah, could be. All right, thank you. That, you're right about that sometimes. All right,
Thank you, Susan.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to turn our attention to Veteran Services, led by our new Veteran Services Director, Chad Gurley.
Hello, Commissioners. How you doing? It says Jarius, but Chad is what I go by. So, Chad Gurley, Director. Here's an overview of County Veteran Services. So the Cabarrus County Veteran Service Office advocates veterans and their families by presenting, processing, and providing proof for claims, privileges, and rights to benefits that they are entitled under federal, state, and local laws. Benefits include pension, which is economic-based, disability compensation, health care, education, memorial, life insurance, and appellate representation. All right, so here are some of the programs that are administered. This is not all-inclusive. These are just the main hotspots that we help within our veteran services. So you have disability compensation on the left. That is for veterans, survivors, and dependent education. We have veterans life insurance, medical, and dental. We actually do the applications and do the enrollment, and we send them to the Salisbury VAMC. And we also do Fayetteville, Durham, and then the clinics in Charlotte as well. We also do discharge upgrades. So if a veteran has it other than honorable discharge and even dishonorable discharge, depending upon the circumstances, we are able to do those free of charge here in Cabarrus County. We also have something called disability appellate representation. So if a veteran files for an initial claim and they are denied for that disability, we have the legal right and accreditation to be able to represent that veteran before the Board of Veteran Appeals. We also do those hearings. We do them in Winston-Salem, but we also do them locally in Cabarrus County as well. On the right side, you have Veterans Pension and Survivors Pension, which is an economic-based program for our veterans and surviving spouses who are under the poverty line. So that entails looking at assets, that entails looking at their income and seeing if they fall under that maximum annual pension rate. We also have housebound aid and attendance, will, and trust. So our veterans who are housebound, we help apply for those benefits for them, as well as aid and attendance. So we work with our assisted living and residential facilities to help with that. And we also have will and trust, where we'll help veterans get in contact with our JAG officers to help with those. We also have Veterans and Survivors Pension, and then we have ID card enrollment and records requests. So for our veterans who are not able to get their records, like the ones that had records that were burnt up in a 1973 fire, we're able to get those as well. If they can come to our office, we can print them off and we can give them to them right there free of charge. Next slide, please. So here are some legislative changes impacting service delivery. You all know about the famous PACT Act, which was signed in August 2022, which expanded on January 8th, 2025. It is the purpose to extend health care and benefits to veterans who were exposed to burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan, Agent Orange in Vietnam, contaminated water at Camp Lejeune, and toxins in the United States. We also have the Prioritizing Veteran Survivors Act, which seeks to ensure that VA gives priority to survivor benefits, strengthening support for families of deceased veterans. So it used to be a year to get survivors benefits. Now it has dwindled down to about 60 days on average. So we're making progress. In addition to that, it's not a part of the slide, but for our office in Cabarrus County, we send out widow letters every single month that are signed by me personally, giving condolences to the widows and saying that they can come into our office when they're ready to be able to see if they qualify for survivors benefits. So those go out every single month from our office. And then the next thing is the Veterans Education and Transparency and Training Act, which streamlined access to education benefits for veterans, eliminating lengthy waiting periods for job training or apprenticeship. Again, that program used to be about 6 to 8 months. Now we got that dwindled down to about 60 days. So if they're going for a GI Bill benefit, a vocational rehab benefit, we get them processed. Again, 60 days is the completion of that application. All right, here are our 5-year performance trends. So the number of employees, training hours per year, we have 5 FTs, including myself in the office. So our training hours needed are 99.5. We get those CEUs by virtual annual conferences as well as network meetings in Winston-Salem where the regional office is located. The number of telephone calls per year that we have coming in, I'll just do 24 and 25. In 2024, it was 11,099. It has went down to 9,415, and that was because of the recent turnover and retirements in the office. So we are rising back up with phone calls, especially now that my pretty face is out there on advertisements. So it's increasing, a little bit of humor. Thank you guys who all contributed to our pantry. We have a veterans pantry for veterans and survivors in our office where they can get 2 bags of groceries, and we load them down pretty well in our office. Food, non-perishable items, toiletries, and they can get them twice a month. The pantry visits were 179 in 2024. They have went down to 160 in 25, but they're rising back up again. And, as I did a kind of focus group and got out there in the community, a lot of people didn't know we had the pantry. So we're going to work with our marketing department to get that out, to let veterans and survivors know that they can come in and get some groceries from us. We'll take care of them. And then the biggest part is the revenue brought in through our services and veteran services. So we are a service that is free of charge. I know there are some people out there that are claim sharks that charge veterans for representation of benefits. That is illegal, okay? An initial claim for a veteran has to come through an accredited office and an officer, and our services are free of charge. So in 2025, this office brought in about $13 million in benefits. Me and my staff want to go ahead and increase that by double in this end of this fiscal year. So as it stands, as I came into the office, we've kind of been rolling through, getting through our backlog, getting through our caseload, and getting those claims out as much as possible to put money in the back pocket of a veteran or spouse. Next slide. All right, so that's my contact information. I answer my phone all times of the day and night, so if you got questions about veteran services, no matter what it is, I can get the answer to you or connect you to someone that can get the answer. Any questions for me? No, that was fast.
Well, I'll just say, I love your presentation. It was fast, so thank you for that. But you sound very smart in knowing what veterans are able to get, and so I appreciate that. Welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're very happy to have you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you guys so much.
So,
Yes, sir.
I do appreciate what you're trying to do, taking care of veterans. I'm not a veteran. I got a lot of them in my family, and it means a lot to me.
Yes, sir.
When I was pastor at Ridgecrest Presbyterian Church down in Stanley County, we had a guy there, 4 years active duty Army, 18 years National Guard, and was approaching retirement, getting his retirement at 60, died at 59 and a half. Now, is those benefits, retirement, just gone, or would that go to his wife or any children, or what?
So there is a plan, great question, called a Survivor's Benefit Plan. It's supposed to roll over directly to the wife. And a lot of times, you got to get a VSO to help you connect those dots to contact DFAS, which stands for Defense Finance and Accounting System. We do that seamless. So we'll make the call on behalf of the veteran and the spouse.
Okay, I'm just wondering, after all this time, because this was several years ago, I'm wondering if his wife knew that and took, proper action. I hope she did.
Take my contact. Yeah, I can, so, real quick, we can help across counties. One of the things that was done in our office is that we had borders that were open for other counties, and I can help assist if they can't get help in their county. But I also know the service officers in each county as well, and we all work as a collaborative team. So, yeah, we can get the answer to her.
I have to reestablish contact, but I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do you have handouts?
We do have handouts. Didn't bring any today, but you can refer anyone to the office, and we'll get them everything they need under the sun.
If I stop by the office, can I pick some up?
You sure can.
We deal with them every day at the funeral home.
Yes, sir. You sure can. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, and now we'll have Dr. McKissick presenting on behavioral health.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you today. Next slide, please. So again, I'm Camila McKissick with the Behavioral Health Department. I always like to start with a brief definition of behavioral health. Behavioral health is really an umbrella term that refers to how a person's behavioral behaviors, habits, and actions, including substance use, which affect their overall mental and physical well-being. So I like to say behavioral health is health. It's a part of our health, and it's a part of how we interact with our environment. And as we know, behavioral difficulties not only affect the individual, but they also affect the family, the community, and society as a whole. We know in the United States right now, about 1 in 7 children and 1 in 5 adults are struggling with a mental health issue that they need support for. So it's a little bit about what behavioral health is. Next slide, please. And then this slide just talks a little bit about, more specifically about Cabarrus County and some of our numbers. If you look at the fiscal year and just half of the fiscal year, mobile crisis served 593 adults and 126 children in our county. And EMS responded to 2,839 calls that were related to behavioral health or substance use. Last year in 2024 at Atrium Cabarrus, that number totals for anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, or self-inflicted injury, 10,586 visits from our residents who were coming with some of those concerns. And then in 2023, our residents self-reported experiencing poor mental health more than 16 days out of the past 30. So that's a little bit about Cabarrus County. And that behavioral health has also consistently been identified as a need within our community needs assessment and was recently identified again in 2025. So this is a little bit about our behavioral health department. I like to say our overall goal is to make sure every resident of Cabarrus County has access to high quality behavioral health care. And to that end, we have a couple of things we focus on. The first is to reduce the burden of mental health issues for Cabarrus County residents. The second is provide guidance, knowledge, training, and expertise to our human health and human service departments. And we do that through a lot of different activities and through our behavioral health navigation program. We also serve as a liaison between Cabarrus County departments and the assigned managed care organizations, which right now is Partners and Healthy Blue, and other health plans and other providers within the community. And then one of our biggest goals right now is to provide oversight of the construction and programming and development of the Regional Behavioral Health Center. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief overview of some of the activities that we are leading or involved in through Cabarrus County, through various connections through Cabarrus County. So those are our community collaborations, and on the other side, you'll see some behavioral health trainings that we offer both within our internal departments, and we also offer or facilitate some of those trainings within the community. And the last slide is about our Regional Behavioral Health Center, which is opening in the summer of this year. Through advocacy and support from our state government, the Regional Behavioral Health Center was really born out of that advocacy. And really, after the state advocacy, our county folks really got together and looked at what services we were currently offering in our community and where were the gaps in services and how could we meet the needs of our community members through additional services. And that's just how the Regional Behavioral Health Center was born. So when it opens, we'll have a youth behavioral health urgent care, which will have 16 chairs for children and adolescents aged 4 to 17. We'll have an adult behavioral health urgent care which will have 16 chairs for adults. Behavioral health urgent cares are really alternatives to the emergency department. So those numbers that you saw before, all those 10,586 folks who are going to the emergency room, we hope that a lot of those folks will now come to the behavioral health center and really get the treatment that they need in a calm, caring atmosphere that's really designed just to treat behavioral health difficulties. We're also going to have a youth facility-based crisis center, and that's for children and adolescents aged 6 to 17 who are experiencing a mental health crisis or a substance use crisis. We'll also have some detox services within that facility. So when children need a little bit more care or have more crisis, they can come to that facility-based crisis and stay for a few days to resolve those crises and get connected to other levels of care. And then we'll also have a 24-bed psychiatric residential treatment program. Those are for our children and adolescents who are struggling with more complex trauma-related or mental health needs, who need a little bit more care, who need to stay a little bit longer and receive 24/7 services. So this is opening this summer. As we go along, you'll hear lots and lots more information about the Regional Behavioral Health Center and that it's opening in our community and all the things that it will offer and how we connect all of our folks within our community and within our region to know what services are available. We always say we want, on the first day the center opens, we want it to be full because we want it to serve our community and serve our residents and serve the folks who need it the most. So with that in mind, we're doing a lot of different projects and things within the community and in the region to make sure folks know about the services and have access to them. So that's a little bit about our services. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and that's my contact information there. And also at the bottom, it has more information about the Regional Behavioral Health Center. Progress Starts Here is a website that's been launched that's really focused on those services because, of course, you know it's located on Progress Place. Any questions from me?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much
for your time.
And then last but certainly not least, we have Charles, who is going to talk a little bit more about our transportation program. They already had kind of a little bit of an overview on Saturday, Charles, so we could kind of quickly go through some of the information, but well, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, like Elise said, you guys seen some of this Saturday, and I'll start to apologize. I was supposed to be here Saturday to present, but my son decided to play basketball in Crocs and break his wrist, so we had something come up. I know, right? So here's our vision for the department. We envision a community where eligible individuals have reliable access to critical medical appointments, essential services. Through the dedication, teamwork, and compassion, we strive to serve with excellence and make a meaningful, life-changing difference with every trip we provide. So we offer service to eligible Cabarrus County residents in all municipalities. The service types we provide are non-emergency medical, so we take folks to medical appointments as long as it does not require emergency care, behavioral health, pharmacy, etc. Employment, career development. There's a program at RCCC that we provide trips to, and the vocational opportunity is down in Concord. Folks with mental disabilities, take them back to get them out in the public working. You heard about the nutrition sites earlier. We have nutrition sites in all 5 municipalities. I can't remember exactly how many meals we provide, but folks love that service. And then folks who are not eligible for like Medicaid or any of the other provided services, we have the RGP, which is a rural general public. And those are folks out like the Midland area, Mount Pleasant. They have to live in a rural area. We travel. They had to purchase tickets. Tickets are $3 a piece, and it's 1 ticket each way, so to and from. This is how our staffing is. We have 4 members of the management team, myself, an operations supervisor, and 2 driver supervisors, 4 call center reps. They're the folks who are on the phone, taking all the calls all day long. The 2 dispatchers and schedulers, they're the ones who are making the schedule for the next day, but also working to get folks back home for the current day. When we're full staffed, we have 21 full-time drivers. Right now we have 18, so we have 3 vacancies, but we got 2 offers out. We have 1 auxiliary driver. We utilize him, like when full-time driver's on vacation, somebody calls out sick, we call him, he comes in, picks up, so we're keeping the services going. And then fleet support coordinator, he makes sure all the oil change, preventive maintenance is done on our vehicles, plus all the human services vehicles as well. You guys saw this slide on Saturday. This is the different funding sources that we utilize. And they got the breakdown beside each one, a little bit about it. We can go to the next slide. And then this is just a quick year-to-date, July to January. February's numbers haven't been ran yet. But you can see our on-time percentage is in the high 90s. Will call return time. We like to keep it below an hour, so we're hitting that pretty good, getting folks from the time they call in to the time we get them to their house after their appointment. All right, there's the department contact list. You can email, call any of the folks listed there. If they can't get you the answer, I'll get it for you. But that's the 2 driver supervisors and the operations and training supervisor.
All right. Well, that concludes our presentation. Well, thank you so much, commissioners. Any last questions?
Just, Charles, your people are amazing. I've seen them all over the county, all hours of the day, from early in the morning to, I even saw one off of Mallard Creek taking somebody to an appointment on my way to a Central Line regional meeting, and they were stuck in traffic. So they really go above and beyond every day, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so we had several drivers come in at 3:30 in the morning to get folks to like dialysis and stuff. So they start as early as 3:30, some come in as late as 8:30 in the morning, so.
I do have a question. So as far as your drivers, do they have to have certain like medical certifications and things like that? Because I know a lot of the people that you transport do have
Yeah,
medical
we
issues.
teach everybody first aid, CPR, bloodborne pathogens, defensive driving, but there's no like special certification they gotta have prior. We teach anything they need to know.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you.
I just want you to tell them what I've heard about how busy you guys were with the storm, the winter storm events.
Oh, yeah, we had to come in when we had the snowstorm on a Saturday. Myself, 2 supervisors, and 3 drivers. So we was out there when 15 inches of snow were coming, getting folks back and forth to dialysis. We started at 5 o'clock that morning and went to 11, and only had to call the tow truck once. Right at 10:45, I got a call, so we were stuck on the hill. So we almost made it the whole day.
Yeah, you guys did an amazing job doing that, so thank you.
All righty. I'll see you guys in a little bit for my next part.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we will move on to, let's see, Byron Hagler, under discussion items 4.1. Good evening.
Good evening. So I have before you, the discussion item for action is the removal of the current planning seat for Midland, which was Tim Cook, and he was moving out of that planning district, so his position is coming available. So I'm coming before you all to have his name removed from that particular seat.
And then you also have one to appoint.
Yes, ma'am. So right behind that one, if we want to jump to that one as well, we have an application for the Midland seat. And it was a unanimous vote with the Active Living and Parks Commission to fill that seat with Rebecca Chastain. And so I can take any questions on that. This will be just to fulfill the remainder of Mr. Cook's seat, which will end May 31st of 2026. So I'll be right back in front of you again here in the next couple months to go through this process again.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions on that? Are we good for consent agenda? Okay. All right, thank you,
so
sir.
much.
All right, we will move on to 4.3, Firefighters Relief Fund Trustees, Jacob Thompson. Who's not here? Okay. I guess he didn't want to come spend more time with us after this weekend. Kelly?
I'll cover that real quick. So this is for obviously the firefighters trust. It is very specific in who is eligible to sit in those seats. So they have each individual person listed as well as one that is filling an expiring term. So.
Okay. Commissioners, are you okay with consent on this?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We will move on to 4.4, Human Services Advisory Board, Elise Pugh. Welcome back.
This is a reappointment for one of our Human Services Advisory Board members. She is on faculty with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and she has requested to be reappointed to our board. It's great to have her expertise on the board.
Consent? Okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am. All right. So we will move on to 4.6. We'll have Byron and Kyle back up for the Vietnam Veterans Park discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Board of Commissioners resolution for amending the Board of Commissioners 2026 meeting schedule.
That just added a few dates in there for the summit location.
Have you guys had an opportunity to take a look at that? Okay. You want to look at it real?
It's got the summit location and the NCACO conference and things like that on there.
Y'all good with consent on that, or do you want to put it on action? Consent?
There's the weird June 1st one that starts at 5:30? What is that about? It's under item 1, there's a star, and it says that one in particular.
This page.
Yes, the budget public hearing.
Budget
I see.
public hearing.
Okay.
Y'all good with consent on this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then we will move on to 4.6. Byron and Kyle. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you.
So this is a follow-up from the conversation that we had at the retreat on Friday night. I put a slide up there that, in terms of Vietnam Veterans Park, that showed operating expenses both for active living parks as well as infrastructure and asset management. And then also, it was on the property slides where the lease is expiring, and we needed to have that conversation of what you all wanted me to do. I did send an email to the assistant city manager explaining that we needed to understand Kannapolis's intent moving forward with that property, whether they have an intention at all or none. They have to give us something. And that email's been forwarded to the city manager. So I have not gotten an answer, but I have gotten a confirmation that they received it and ran it up the flagpole. And I did ask specifically, would they like a signed letter? Would they like me to go in front of their city council? Would they like one of you to go in front of their city council? So I hope to have some information. One of the requests was from Commissioner Wortman to have Mr. Hagler go ahead and talk about the programs provided there, and I think probably some more in-depth on VVP.
So a quick just overview of the park. If you're not familiar, we have a developed facility off of Orphanage Road of about 40 acres. Over that park, you have 4 open shelters that range in different sizes, but you have a 1.23 mile perimeter trail around the park that is heavily utilized by your walkers and especially your dog owners, to the tune of 268,000 participants in fiscal year 25. So it's a very heavily utilized facility. It's actually our second busiest park that we currently maintain. You have 2 playgrounds and a very challenging and popular disc golf course that is a 9-hole disc golf course that's there, and also a host site of a dog run is the terminology that we utilize for that. We had some great guidance as to avoid litigation and issues that dog parks have, and we created a dog run. So one of the many things that we have faced with dogs being off leash, you have an opportunity to have your dog off leash inside of a fenced-in area provided to you. Other than that, this site is a host for 8 to 11, depending on the year, high school track meets or cross-country meets. And one of those being the Wonders, which is a alumni-based event that's massive and has a lot of spectators that come to it. And on top of that, nature walk, staff trainings, and many fundraisers for local organizations, walks and runs and things of that nature that use that park because of its openness and usability for things like a 5K event, which they utilize for fundraisers.
I want to talk about the connection to the city of Kannapolis' Greenway.
Sure. So you also, within the last couple years, Kannapolis has connected their greenway to the back end of that park, close to Irish Buffalo Creek. So you have the connectivity now of that greenway connecting to the park. So it makes a great partnership for many things that we have worked together on with the city as far as special events like their road races and things like that they organize off of that. So you do have that partnership where we're continually working together and communicating with what events are going on, so we are operating the same way. Things that you do have to make sure that you are communicating as the operational hours of the park versus the greenway parking and things of that nature.
It should be noted that connection is a 24/7 connection. You can't stop them from coming in.
Did you have any specific reservations about Kannapolis City taking back over or taking over that specific area of the park?
In my 16 years of being with Cabarrus County, that's always been the intent, is that one day Kannapolis will take over the operations of that facility. So that's no surprise as to that piece of it. It is just what is their intent is truly the need. We need to know so we can plan for the future as to what the goal is, if they intend to take it over in 3 years or 10 years from now or not at all. But the need is there. The demand is there. People expect a high-quality, well-maintained facility, and it's heavily utilized.
Right.
And I know you gave the yearly numbers, but when we had our active living and parks meeting, they now do a very colorful monthly report. At January, which is a very slow part of the season, so this past January, they had 655 combined participants for all 3 playground areas. They had 2,145 people using the trails, 540 people using the sports amenities, the basketball, disc golf, volleyball, and shuffleboard. And there were 3,573 cars, which equated to 8,392 visitors. And that's in a cold month.
Yes.
That's one of your slowest. So, I mean, it is very heavily used, so.
We have some of the nicest, most well-maintained parks in the state. And you look at this, and right now, just for our July through January, we have had over 730,000 participants in our park facilities. That's not active living centers, that's just park facilities.
Yeah, I don't think any of us doubt our park utilization. I mean, we obviously have that, but, you know, if Kannapolis City would be amenable to doing that, that would be my preference. So Kyle, if you'll let us know when you hear back.
Yeah, well, I have to come up, I mean, it's ticking, so one way or the other,
Yeah.
you're going to hear from me in a couple months, so.
Okay. So I assume even though we have this on here, there's not really any action for us to take at this
We
moment,
just,
so.
with Byron being unavailable this weekend, we
Yes.
just wanted to make sure that.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you all.
Next word from us will be what he hears and what we need to talk about with the lease.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, guys. All right, so we will move on to 4.7, Consolidated Human Services Agency Home and Community Care Block Grant with Tammy Bear. Good evening, thank you.
Good evening. It's a mouthful, the Home and Community Care Block Grant, or HCCBG, as we call it, which is also a tongue twister. But it's a grant that supports our in-home services that I talked about earlier, our in-home aid, our adult day health, and our Lunch Plus. It supports those services along with the others that are included in this information. But tonight it came for a budget amendment, because when we budget for FY '26, we have to use FY '25 numbers, because it's projected, we don't know until later after the budget. So this is a budget amendment for the amount that we did receive for FY '26, which was a greater amount than it was before, the year before. So we did get, in our region, 26,000 more for our county than the last year. So this is just a request to amend the budget for the correct amounts.
Commissioners, are you okay with consent on this?
Any questions?
All right.
All right,
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
much.
Moving right along, 4.8, Consolidated Human Services Agency Transportation Drug and Alcohol Policy. Welcome back, Mr. Ratliff.
So what I have tonight is our drug and alcohol policy. It's required every 3 years to be accepted and adopted by the board. So we're coming up on it. And what it does, the NCDOT sends out a template to all transit agencies, and we just have to plug and play our information into their template. So it don't require no public hearing. So if you adopt it, accept it, you just add it to consent, and we'll be good with it.
Any questions? Okay with consent? Great, thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to 4.9, Construction Standards, Request for Funds for Demolition with Matt Love. Good evening, Matt.
Hey, good evening. So I'm coming for you. We have the property at 3445 Atondo Drive. It's the Lomat property. We have a vacant building out there that's been dilapidated, added on to, and vacant, has no utilities, water, and it falls under the public health and nuisance ordinance. And so we have declared this structure unsafe and notified the county that we will be condemning this building. So we proceeded with quotes, and our lowest bid was $31,800 to Cooks Construction. And so Construction Standards is recommending approval of funds from the Construction Standards fund balance to cover the cost of demolition and removal.
So I assume, just my ignorance in this, is, so the owners or previous owners,
So this is the mobile home that is on the circle
okay.
farm that we
Gotcha.
bought.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're the deadbeat owners?
We are the deadbeat owners this time.
Okay.
So we're paying ourselves to tear down our own
Well, we have to hire a contractor.
for $31,000.
Get me out there.
I'll do it for half.
I'll bust it up.
It probably won't take much more than a sledgehammer, to be quite frank. But, you know, we just gained ownership of that last year, and prior to that, the owner would not allow us to tear it down, although we've had a desire to do so for a while.
Are we good for consent on this, or are you ready to meet me out there with a sledgehammer?
No, it says it comes from construction fund balance, so I assume it's earmarked for that kind of stuff, so, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. All right, 4.10, County Manager, Cabarrus Health Alliance request for exterior alterations to Old Mount Pleasant Library.
Okay, so in early 2025, we leased the old Mount Pleasant Library to the Health Alliance. I believe they plan on putting a dental facility in there, although after speaking with them, I think they're going to try to have some other services available as well. They're asking for some alterations. Obviously, you know they're going to make interior alterations, and I've informed them I'll need to see all those plans. The way the lease reads, if they do anything that's impacts structurally, they have to let us know. I've asked them just to send me the prints for anything, even if it's not affecting it structurally. What I am concerned about is some of the exterior changes that they want to make. From a landscaping standpoint, I've already set up a meeting with us and Mount Pleasant, the town of Mount Pleasant, and to be honest with you, it's some overgrown hollies that they want to just take out, and we'll start new. I don't have an issue with any of that. But they do want to put in a spot to park an RV as well as a dumpster pad. So before anybody has any comments about the RV, that is their actual traveling RV where they provide services out of. So this is to be able to have that down there, and that's why they want the shoreline connection, because they actually want to provide more services down there. So a building and an RV to provide those services. My responsibility is to tell you that your lease is 10 years. After that, you could extend it. But if you try to sell that facility with an RV lot or some sort of RV parking there, you know, I don't know if that's a pro or a con these days with properties. But I would say that it's something that needs to be considered by the board before we put it. They had originally asked to put it in the very small grassy area behind the parking lot, but with our actual parcel size, it will not work. So now we are looking at possibly being able to pull that RV in between the lot and the building. There is some grassy space there. It would be a hard cut corner to have to do that. We'd have to trim a little bit of some of the parking islands. So again, we're meeting with the town of Mount Pleasant to go through all of this, but I would tell you that adds a certain exterior view to that building, which is why I wanted the board to hear this.
Do you all have questions, Commissioner Pittman?
It's gonna make it unattractive.
I believe that that's a viewpoint. It's very subjective, so I will tell you, I was just there, and the building next to us, if you're looking at the old Mount Pleasant Library, the building to the left of us has the trailer of an 18-wheeler parked in their back parking lot and extended into the grass. So when I had put this agenda item in, the answer to that question was yes, but now I might be the one that's wrong. And again, I'm going to talk to the town about all of this, and I will make sure that nothing will take place unless it's allowed. But this is a change to the property, and the board needs to be aware of that.
When will you be talking to the town about it?
I'm meeting with them in 3 days.
Great. Commissioner Pittman?
Sounds to me like you're not too thrilled with the idea. I mean, how bad do you think this would be?
I think these services are needed in Mount Pleasant, and I think that the services would be probably a blessing to those folks, and I'd like to try to find a way to make it work where maybe the building shields or screens the RV a bit. But I think that's going to take some discussion with the adjacent owners, because I think I'm going to have to probably utilize their parking lot to be able to back that thing in. It's pretty big.
In other words, you'd probably rather take a vacation and let somebody else make deal with all that.
Yep, but that's what that's what I'm here to do. So I'm the one that gets called in for these weird ones like this. So yes, I will meet with the town and go through all their requests and make sure, but I did want the board to understand that, because again, it's the county's property, and there is an inherent value to it moving forward.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you share your concerns instead of just jumping on something and not paying attention to all that.
Yes, sir.
So what do you need now?
Just the look on all of your faces is enough for me. I need the approval to move forward and use what you would consider the best judgment based on the value of the property, and also meeting with the town of Mount Pleasant, what they would like to see.
I was going to say, if
Yeah.
you guys want to, we can put this on action, and then that way we can have you
I can come back at the regular meeting,
Is the
absolutely.
RV branded? Says like we're providing great service and.
So I'm going to be honest with you, it was about 2 miles away from where we were. They're apparently parking it down the road, and I had to get to another meeting, and I didn't get to go see it, so that's what I've asked for, is a picture of it.
Not like a Shasta or something.
No, and I've never seen the Health Alliance, but apparently they take it out to a lot of different sites. I mean, when they told me why, at first I thought it was, we just need a place to park this. But then when they explained to me about increasing the amount of services they could do down there, and that was the entire reason for leasing them that building. So that's why I said, okay, we'll try to find a way to work this out.
So what do they do with the waste? Because you said shoreline for what, I assume
Yes.
electricity and water?
Yes, so they say they have no running water or any bathrooms in that facility. I did ask that question. I wanted to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere, and it's all self-contained.
So if it's the same one that I've seen just going up to the Cabarrus Health Alliance for our board meetings, then it is branded. If it's the same one, I don't know. So
I'll make sure.
I'm sure you will.
Knowing
I
my
have
luck,
no
we
doubt.
get
I
the
have no
one that,
doubt.
the second one that no one ever gets to see. I'd be responsible. I'd be
You never
responsible for
know.
that. That's right, I'm gonna ask. Yeah, but I will bring all that information back.
All right, so we will put that on action until our next meeting.
Mount Pleasant is okay with looking at.
Yeah. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, so we'll move on to 4.11, update on the Holloway Group with Kelly Sifford.
We just had this, if you recall, I think it was December, we decided to place this back on March, hoping that we would have some resolution to the state budget. We do not have resolution to the state budget. Our consultant has been working, the short session again starts in April. He's been working with our representatives as well as other key ones to talk to them about our requests that we have in. So that's kind of where we are. So I don't know if you want to push this out for review again in 3 months or, you know, what your pleasure is, but that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point.
So I can also give an update too, because I speak to him pretty regularly to see what he, you know, and his staff are working on. I do know that they are and have met with our legislators as well to make sure that they are aware of what funding we have requested. Cross our fingers. Everybody is saying and hoping that we will have a budget by April. So I hope that is the case. If you guys feel more comfortable pushing this until April or May, I'm good to do that as well. It's really the pleasure of you all, but I do know that they have been working to make sure that we are going to get these funds whenever we get a budget. May? Hopefully we'll have a budget.
Yeah, we'll bring it back to you in May. Just put it on the agenda to bring it back and see where we are.
And I'll just say that, you know, I mean, I hate to count my chickens before they hatch, obviously, but the conversations that they have had, they feel like those conversations have gone very well. Y'all good for May? Okay.
Thank you.
Just need a budget.
So we don't need to do anything on a meeting?
No, this was just to figure out where we were and what you wanted to do, so we'll put it back on May and just bring it up like we just did now.
All right, so moving on to 4.12, Facilities Design and Construction. Michael Miller, presentation of guaranteed maximum price, number 1 for Progress Place renovation. Good evening.
Good evening. So the county has a construction manager at risk contract in place with Messer Construction for the renovation of the Progress Place buildings. And we're currently working through the pre-construction phase of the project. And on January 23rd, 2026, Messer received bids for the guaranteed maximum price package number 1, which was for direct procurement of mechanical equipment for the project, and that's been identified as long lead items. So this is an exercise we've done on many projects over the past, just to ensure that the equipment shows up on time and gets on site when needed and does not provide a negative impact. So basically, before the plans are even finished and before there's a subcontractor on board, we go ahead and buy this stuff and just make sure it's coming our way and it's here on time, ready to be installed when we get to that point in the project. GMP total is $1,701,539. And that buys us 1 cooling tower, 9 self-contained water-cooled unitary devices and water source heat pumps, and 2 new rooftop units, which are all like-for-like replacements of the current equipment that's original to the building. The GMP did come in under budget compared to our estimate, and this would be a amendment to the pre-construction contract that's currently in place. So the requested action of the board is for a motion to approve the GMP 1 amendment and authorize the interim county manager to execute the contract amendment between Cabarrus County and Messer Construction, subject to review and revision by the county attorney. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
I had one.
Okay.
Why didn't we just buy them? Like, why pay their markups? Couldn't we have just bought them and stored them?
We can probably do that.
I mean, just a thought, because what they had, you're paying their bond
Yeah, that's right.
A fee
There's
at
a
2%.
bond, a fee, and
And some contingency, which I don't know would be for direct purchase. I don't
well, the contingency's just there if needed.
Unless you guys are just too busy and you're just like, we want you to handle it.
Well, I mean, we rely on the expertise.
Here comes Kyle. I don't know.
We have done it before. We did it with chillers at the arena, and it became extremely complicated when some of the shop drawings didn't match what needed to go in, and we ended up spending money on making some changes because it wasn't communicated correctly between the design team and the contractor. And then logistics of storage is the other thing. But we have done it in the past. It can be done, but yes, it takes a lot of coordination up front and some area to lay all that down.
Maybe on future projects. Not related to this, but since I'm so new here, could you guys just like send me like a brief email? I mean, like 10 bullet points on just like where this project is, what the schedule looks like, what the renovations are for.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I know like nothing about it.
Yeah, we're not touching that. It's more of an infrastructure upgrade because it's roof and mechanical, to be honest with you, and then renovations to 1 and probably a quarter floors. But yeah, he'll write up a narrative.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
basic-
super simple, just basic what's going on.
So the basic scope of the job is all from the conditions assessment
Yeah.
that we did, our due diligence on.
Oh, just send me that, and that'd be enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioners, are you good with consent on this? We want it on action. Action, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. All right, so we will move on to 4.13 and 4.14. We have Courtney Wyatt. Good evening.
Good evening.
So first, we have Powers and Thomas Midway Entertainment Contract.
Yes. So we are looking, this year is our last year in the current 5-year contract with them, so we would like to extend that another 5 years. The main things that we have changed this year is the addition of our carload night special. Last year, that was a theme night for us, and we would like to continue that going forward. So it is a 70-30 split on the gate because we get the money at the gate. They don't sell unless someone wants to buy a wristband by itself. They're usually doing the gate price at $90. Unless they do the wristband by itself, then we are splitting with them on a 70-30, them getting 70, us 30. This year, we increased the fee that we are charging them for trash removal from $2,000 to $4,000. And then also, their employees that bring RVs in our RV lot, we were charging them $18 per day. We moved that to $25, which is what the arena typically charges. So those are the main changes for this new 5-year contract. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Okay, all right, we'll put that on consent. And then we will move on to the Southern Rodeo Company contract.
Okay, so when we were presenting for the fair, after the fair last year, it was brought up that maybe we need to look at a multi-year contract with them to help with cost. They were excited to do that. Yeah. They want to keep this going. They think there's a lot of potential here. So everything is the same for our contract this year. They did go up by $5,000, I guess, to equate for the 3 years that we're going to lock this in. but everything else is the same.
Will it be the same cost to get into the rodeo? Or is that?
Well, have not gotten there yet, but I guess my thought would be to keep it the same. But that's something we can revisit.
Commissioner Patrick?
Wasn't there some issue with the soil last time? They weren't too happy with it or something like that?
Oh, who? The rodeo?
Rodeo guys.
Oh, no, they loved it.
Oh, they were okay.
Yes, and the participants were very happy. In fact, we had participants that stopped us afterwards to see if they could bring a finals rodeo there because they liked the facilities so much better than where they were.
Okay, because we hauled the soil in and out, right? And we're going to continue to do
Yeah.
that?
Well, we have a company that does that.
Somebody- yeah.
Yes.
The rodeo folks didn't do it.
The rodeo folks did not do it. I think our company that put it in, they put a layer of sand on top because we were trying to achieve a certain mixture. And so when the rodeo company got there, they then mixed it all in, and they were worried that I was not going to like that the sand was mixed in, but that's what it was for. So.
You might be referring to the fact that we had, I know for several times that they wanted to bring a rodeo here, but the dirt was an issue because it is, it's a lot of bringing in, removing, and all of that stuff. But you guys have been able to mitigate that and done a great job. And I
Yes.
actually spoke, when we went to the rodeo, I spoke with, I can't remember his name, but.
Josh or
Okay.
Robin. The
Maybe it
rodeo
was Josh.
company?
Yeah, I think it was Josh. But he just bragged about everything
Yeah.
and how accommodating and how great it was. So.
I think we were worried about how the dirt was going to be from the beginning, but they said that it ended up being pretty much one of the best soils that I guess they deal with in all the places that they do rodeo productions.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm looking forward to it again.
Me too.
All right, commissioners, are you good with consent? All right. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Courtney.
you.
Appreciate it. All right, 4.15, finance, refunding 2016 LOBS, approval of resolution with Jim Howden. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. At the February 17th board meeting, I brought to you the opportunity to refund our 2016 LOBS for a potential $2.5 to $3 million savings over the remaining life of those LOBS. At that meeting, we held a public hearing, and then the board did approve a preliminary resolution that allowed staff to submit an application to the LGC. What I'm asking for tonight is to suspend the rules and approve the approving resolution, which will allow staff to proceed with the actual 2026 bond sale for the refunding, which will take place in a couple weeks.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? No? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. And then I need a motion to approve the approving resolution and the execution of any related necessary documents upon review and revision by legal.
So moved.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? And that carries 5-0 as well. Thank you, Jim. All right, moving on to 4.16, adoption of the ARPA property management policy with Doug.
All right. So this item here, so of course the ARPA grant program has been going on a while. This is a policy which wasn't mandatory but should have been adopted when it was first implemented, the ARPA grants. So this is the policy which would spell out and control what the rules are if someone wants to exit a property that they purchased or improved with ARPA money. So we need this policy. This is a model policy from the School of Government, which they recommend you adopt. But we do have one recipient who used ARPA money to purchase real estate. They are now asking questions about their options, maybe wanting to sell it. That's possible, but we need these rules in place that spell out, how the proceeds are divided and then what they have to use the proceeds for. So in other words, they would have to use the proceeds for the same type program if they were to sell the real estate. They could return the money, or they could use the money to keep the same program in place. But this is what we're asking you to adopt, not tonight, but at the regular session, to adopt retroactively and authorize the execution of these documents so that we can address these situations as they come up.
The grant money goes back to RPA?
Well, there's several things that could happen. So, correct, the federal government has a lien on all ARPA money. So we're the recipient, and then we give it to subrecipients. So the federal government basically is contracted with us to oversee this type of thing. So we can make the decisions. You know, the one thing that could happen is the money simply gets returned. We couldn't redistribute the money now at this point. It's too late. But it would get returned to the federal government, or we would have to spell out how the people, the recipient, the subrecipient, keeps and manages the money, how they apply it. For example, if, just to pick a hypothetical, if they got $400,000 of ARPA money and purchased real estate, and they can now sell it for $600,000, so they're entitled to keep some of that gain, but ARPA would have to be reimbursed part of that gain as well. So in other words, any appreciation on the ARPA money has to be used for ARPA program activities or be returned to the federal government. So they don't sell it and get to keep $200,000, all the gain on the property, for example.
So it's return of principal and gain?
Correct. If they choose to go that route. Or they can choose to take the proceeds and purchase a different property, perhaps a less expensive property to operate and maintain, to operate the same program, or they could use it to lease a location to operate the same program. So it's either return the money or demonstrate to us how you're going to use the proceeds that you want to sell and derive proceeds from, how you're going to use that to maintain the same program that you were approved in the first place. They can't go off and do something else with it.
And we're just passing it in?
Correct.
Money. We keep, the county gets a little bit?
Yeah, we don't get any money for doing this, no. But the federal government has contracted with us to determine what's supposed to happen here.
Any other questions? Are y'all good for consent? Okay. All right, 4.17, Planning and Development, NCDOT Division 10, request for build grant application support letter with Susie Morris. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a request from NCDOT Division 10. They, last year, I believe it was, they submitted for what was then called a RAISE grant. It has now been changed to a build grant. They submitted an application. It was not successful. They did receive feedback on that from the federal government, so they would like to try again. This board signed this very same letter at that time last year. So they are requesting that we sign a new updated letter that they can place in the grant application. There are two projects that would be in Cabarrus County. That was in your packet. One is off of Penninger Road. The other one is off of Peach Orchard, and they are both bridge replacements. So there's a lot of scour and different things that are happening with those bridges. They're old, and so they're trying to put this package together in order to try and replace some of those, since they are not receiving as much money as they used to for gasoline tax with the popularity of electric vehicles. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? All right, consent? Great, thanks, Susie.
Thank you.
And we'll move to 4.18, Sheriff's Office use of asset forfeiture funds to purchase needed investigation equipment upgrades with Chief Tessa Burchett. Hello.
Hello, good evening. I also have Captain Chris Smith with me. He oversees our field operations, and which includes criminal investigations. But so this is about the utilization of our asset forfeiture funds, which has a requirement to be spent by the receiving agency on equipment for investigations or needs for investigations. So For those of you that are not familiar, the asset forfeiture program is a federal program when offenders are participating in federal crimes and there are either funds or other assets that are either gained from the illegal activity or basically used in the facilitation of the crime. Those assets can be seized once they're charged, and then through equitable sharing, the agencies that participate in the investigation and charging of the crime or the lead agencies receive funds once the charges are disposed of in federal court. So we do have some of these funds built up, and we would like to use these funds to buy some needed equipment. That is, one, a camera. It's a very sophisticated camera that would be used in our crime scene division. It has the ability to take very high-level pictures of fingerprints. Oftentimes, sometimes we have to decide between, okay, are we going to dust for fingerprints or are we going to test for DNA? This eliminates that problem. We are able to take pictures off of orange peels. We're able to take pictures off of the packaging for
drug packaging.
drug
has been
packaging,
very
that type of
crucial
thing.
with investigations as
Yeah.
far as identifications of individuals responsible for trafficking drugs.
Absolutely, and it's an expensive camera, but we were able to test the camera out. We were able to get phenomenal results from it, and we think it's very much worth it. It's an $88,000 purchase, and then the other part of the purchase would be to refurbish 3 computer towers, Tolino computer towers that we use for the forensic examination of computers, tablets, phones, that type of thing. With partnering with our IT division, they're going to rebuild them for us. So really, it's just seeking approval to spend asset forfeiture funds to buy this equipment so that we do not have to budget for it.
Any questions? Consent? Okay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
All right. I do need a motion to approve our regular meeting agenda on March the 16th.
So moved.
With the one change. yeah,
With the one change.
The RV thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Renew my motion to approve.
with the RV change. Can- All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, and we do need to go into closed session. I need a motion to go into closed session per NCGS 143-318.11A, 3, 4, and 6 for attorney-client privilege, economic development, and personnel.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, we are in closed session. Yes.
Gretchen is in here with us